What do you think, Mr. Mike? Is everyone playing nice today? Oh, that's that volume. Fix that. Why is the input volume set to that? Okay, okay. That's more like it. Am I hearing stuff? Yeah. I think that means I can push the ugly man button. Oh my god, back to the. That was meant to happen. Everything is fine. Everything exactly according to plan. It is Thursday night. I am ScreamingWyvern, and it is solo RPG streaming time. If you're not aware, I call myself Wyvern because I hoard role-playing games like A Dragon, and I also happen to be unbalanced and occasionally toxic. And tonight we're going a little bit darker than we have in the past couple of weeks. We've had some nice time running a store in a village, even if it did get overrun by orcs at one point. We got, well, several horrible deaths in dungeons and stuff like that, but they weren't quite that tragic. But tonight, we're actually headed to the story of a mech pilot. And when I say the story of a mech pilot, we're not actually playing as the mech pilot. We're playing as the mechanic who's responsible for keeping that pilot alive, knowing damn well that once as soon as they walk out of the repair bay, there's not a damn thing you can do to protect them. So this is The Cog That Remains by Seamus Connolly. Let's go ahead and where is my linky winkies? I had this up. There you are. Make sure they get the link in here, although I will have what I do have their information on the screen here. So, like I said, this is about a mech engineer. Let's go ahead and go through, well, mecha. Giant robotic weapons of war fly among the stars and stride across battlefields controlled by pilots brave, terrified, determined, desperate, who will write the history books with beam fire and missile barrages. That is not your role. You are the chief mechanic. It is your job to repair, maintain, and maybe even upgrade a mecha in between missions. In doing so, you keep the mecha in the fight. In doing so, you keep the pilot alive, at least. That's the goal. In reality, the supplies are never as plentiful as they should be. The allies are not as dependable. You, better than anyone else, know how fragile a mecha can be. You know that the pilot is not yet a legend, but an all too fallible human being. You'll do the best you can, it's your job after all, but you're all too aware of how likely it is that when it comes to this weapon of war, you'll be the cog that remains. What did I push? What have I clicked on? Go back. It was very epic and serious, and then I moved everything around. So let's see. Go ahead and shift myself over to the side. I'm gonna have the PDF up there. Got to share that properly. Okay, so what you'll need to play. I've got my little board laid out here. So oh, I need a six-sided die. Let's go ahead and grab one of those two real quick. Objects, whoops, components, dice, and metal dice, and you can go right next to the other ones. Okay. Back to the book. Okay, standards deck of playing cards seen here, including jokers, six-sided die, a tumbling block tower that, that is listed as optional, but it's really important. So the idea here is that as the story moves along, obviously the mech becomes more and more fragile, and that becomes something that you can't control. So by having events take blocks out of the block tower, obviously it becomes more and more fragile. Let me go ahead and say fragile a few more times. So I don't want to take that out. What Seamus recommends later is that we can go ahead and just assume that after 16, 16 blocks would be removed, then that's it. But I'm going to go ahead and find a compromise between the two. So you see I've got this counter here. Every time I'm told to do a block, I roll. Okay, obviously that's not over 30. But then I've got my chaos die here. I don't necessarily completely trust the dice here, I have to admit. And then the counter goes down by the chaos die, and then obviously that makes things more fragile. Okay, I'm being overly anxious about it, but I'm so used to Fantasy Grounds. I know Fantasy Grounds keeps giving me likes for my Blue Sky posts, and I'm not saying this because I want them to keep doing that, but anyway, 10 tokens, nut bolts, washers, whatever, and on my other screen I've got Google Docs up, and I'm going to hopefully be able to dictate to it. We shall see how well that works out. Okay, playing the game. To set up the game for play, shuffle the deck of cards. I'll go ahead and do that a few more times. Place them face down. The cards will tell you some of the things that are happening in the story. Ask questions that will let you tell the rest of the story and provide instructions. Set up the tumbling block tower as you normally would. We've explained how that's going to work. It represents your mecha's continued functionality and the pilot's continued survival. That's a more complicated situation than just maintaining a piece of equipment. But sure, the mecha needs to be managed with all of its quirks, the complexities and flaws of the pilot, the failings and schemes of the military you belong to, and the machinations of the enemy could each prove just as deadly as a reactor breach or mechanical breakdown. If the tower falls during play and no other circumstances change the outcome, then the mech is destroyed in combat and the pilot is killed. The chief mechanic is asked to make a final report on the fate of their charges, and the game comes to an end. In theory. Last part of setup consists only of considering a few things about the characters and the world you are dealing with. few minutes to think about the following. Question 1. Who is the chief mechanic you are about to play? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that's me. 50-year-olds with a lot of hands-on experience and a lot of book experience, who's been put in these charge of things, hopefully because I'm trusted enough to do the job, but also because this is in wartime, it might not be for reasons quite that favorable to me. Question 2. Who are the lower ranked mechanics on the team and how do you manage them? I feel like I'm not sure. Um a group of young kids with a lot to prove, um, who I like just fine, but for the most part, I trust that I can just tell them what to do and they'll get it done. Question 3. Who is the pilot that takes the mecha into combat? I'm going to take a moment and do a random character name generator. Okay, not fantasy. I don't want male or female. I don't want it to be well, actually, let's go ahead and uh lows are male, highs are female. Did that actually roll? There we go. Okay, so highs are female, so let's go ahead and get Zoe Wrightsman. I like that one. Zoe Wrightsman is what I have rolled up. Zoe Wrightsman. So really, the whole story here is, she comes to me with the problem about her mech and probably other things. I've already established that I'm my age, and I'm guessing someone who's a trained mech pilot, started their career at 18, proved their place, flying lessons, still looking at 25, 30. So, probably a little more parental than is probably appropriate for a guy and his vehicle's pilot. What is the mecha like? Is the next question. Is it grunt unit? Is it a super prototype? Specific role or the machine for a generalist? So I actually went ahead and looked up some old fashioned BattleTech schematics, and this is what I'm, you know, primarily thinking about. Why can I no longer zoom out? Oh, I know why. It's because it's a really big picture. Um, I don't think it's anything special. I think that it's probably mass produced combat machine. Um, it's big, it's bulky, it's reasonably well armed, and it does its job. Um, and that keeps it easy to, you know, there's going to be the parts available at all times, for better or worse. Uh, so yeah, something like the Wasp here. I think of it in if you think of it in terms of Transformers, it's like the Seekers or the little mini bots where you've got hundreds and thousands of them, all different colors, all different personalities, but ultimately, if it weren't for the colors, they'd all look the same. What is the military that they are all a part of like? What are their goals? So I had some ideas of where everything started. Um which frankly starts off with the world breaking down in the early 21st century. Um and the survivors going out in generation ships to find new places to live. Um, we take that and we put it with the fact that all of these are kind of the mass produced things, and we've got a military that's pretty stoic. We'll go ahead and keep the comparison. Everything is a cog. Uh, keep things in the right place and make sure that the cogs can be replaced easily. Who is the enemy and what are they like? What are their goals? Um, they're not going to be any different from the us, as it were. Um, like I read through I skimmed through possible story arcs. Um, so I know that there's situations where it's important that the enemy is someone that can be communicated with, that can be close to your pilot. Um, so I don't think there any real difference between them and us. It's just this last question, the one brought the two sides into conflict. That's where the matter comes in. And ultimately, it's always about materials. It's always going to be about materials. Just not precious metals, just absolutely normal essential metals. steel, copper, all the stuff that, you know, let's claim the land so that we can build the robots, so that we can claim the land, so that we can build the robots. That's basically all I really think it comes down to. Just checking one thing real quickly. Okay. Let's change to this and see if it hears me okay. Close enough. Okie dokie. Of course, it says that these things could change as we go through the game. So, what is the game? Okay, play moves through 2 phases, which together make up a round of play, missions, and the personal logs you make about them. So for the missions, we roll the d6 and draw that many cards from the deck, putting them face down in front of you. Starting with the first card you drew, turn cards over and check the manual for its suit and value. Consider its prompt and any questions it asks, and follow any instructions the card has for you. You might consider each card to be its own mission and have time to pass between the cards. Tie all the cards into one large mission, or something all in between. Continue until all of the cards have been flipped over and their prompts followed, then discard the cards unless you were instructed otherwise. Consider what prompts you got during the missions phase, then using the method and tools you prefer, record the chief's mechanics telling of and their opinion about them, answering questions, and going into detail about what happened. This log is a personal one, not something the chief mechanic expects anyone else to read or hear. It is your place, their place, to vent about an extremely stressful occupation where who lives and who dies can be determined by how well you calibrated the targeting system and tightened every errant bolt. Okay, and like I said, the 16 pulls, removing the tower pulls completely makes it a slightly easier game, but it's no means guaranteed. I think because of the 16, the 30 that I had with the little extra randomization fits in perfectly. We will see. The Ace of Hearts is basically that's the win condition. So as it says later, there are a 1 in 54 chance of getting into a win condition, and from there, there's also a consecutive set of 1 in 6 chances. So, success for my pilot is not guaranteed. I do have jokers. I don't know if they're really discernible from each other. I'll have to remember that. Okay, so here we go. Let's make something clear from designer to player. Your odds of keeping the mecha intact and the pilot alive are bad. By default, you need to find a single card out of 50-40 even start the path to success. And then there are 10 1 in 6 chances you need to get the better of. So those odds are almost laughably bad. You are almost certainly going to fail at what the narrative of the game is presenting as its stated goal. That's fine, because succeeding is not the point. The cog that remains is trying to do what other good, Wretched, and Alone games have managed in the past to help you tell a story of a struggle against adversity, where the destination is almost certain, but the journey still matters. There are going to be some ways to improve your odds right there in the cards, and an experienced mechanic might scrap together a few more tricks, but you likely will be the only cog that remains. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page here. Okay, so earlier it did a brief conversation about what the interesting parts of the game are. We've got the pilot, we've got the I broke the military, the enemy, the mech itself. So more specifically, hearts is the pilot. Any of the hearts cards represent the actions, well-being, and your interactions with the pilots of your mecha. Whatever kind of relationship you have with them at the start, whoever they are, they're on the sharp end of everything your mecha is being sent up against. They are possibly the most important cog in that particular machine. Clubs represent the mecha itself, the damage it takes, the quirks it develops, the technology that keeps it going and strains both for and against destruction and calls for constant, arduous work. It is in your literal job description to keep this thing intact against all of the odds stacked against you. Diamonds is the military, the organization that you work for, nominal allies but chock full of rivalries, bureaucratic traps, logistic issues, and bright ideas that will see all of your efforts brought to ruin. These cards are the struggle to finish a group project when some of the group are doing everything to light the room on fire, and some are doing everything they can to put the fire out. And spades are the enemy, your direct opponents, who are usually at least honest about wanting to ruin your day. Some of their efforts against you are no different than the prosecution of the war in general, while some are deeply personal and precisely targeted. They are, whoever they are, still people, and in them rests the potential for moments of grace and opportunities for succor. And then the rest of it is the manual. Anything important here? This is very important, but not what I'm looking for. And of course, there is the idea that you could obviously lose your pilot and your mech and still be a mechanic left behind. And of course, if the tower does fall, then your first thing is going to be to go ahead and do the final report, the briefing on what you could have done and better, what your pilot could have done, everything that happened. Okay. So, in summary, this is a storytelling moment. So, let's see what happens. I don't want to rewind time. Okay, let's go ahead and start with our first roll. That is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is very much one of those tarot style decks, it feels like. Okay, 5 of Hearts. The pilot is trying to train as much as possible, but complains that they're getting stuck in a rut. What kind of training exercise do you come up with to challenge them? Is there perhaps anything particularly sadistic about it to make up for all the extra maintenance work their usual training regimen is causing? So it feels like the kid's normal routine. Just find a empty spot in the mountains, as something as close to a crater as possible, and just send the beast running from one side to the other, shooting at whatever imaginary enemies they come across. I can see why that might be getting boring. And part of it getting boring maybe because I kind of told them to keep it that boring to make sure that there's no extra problems with the beast. So maybe they should go ahead and do some more mountainous work. That's probably going to be a lot more useful for them, since sooner or later one of these campaigns is going to throw them straight into a mountain range, or God forbid, overmined area. And as for the weapons, obviously I'm not going to get anyone's permission to get them live fire. So they're kind of stuck on there, but if it's not gonna hurt anyone, and I've got any crew that's getting bored, well, I'm sure that they've got a spare golf cart or two that they could go driving around. That should be fun for both of them. Give Zoe a chance to test out her little favored targeting modules, and some of my kids to just let loose and drive crazy in the mountains. Of course, if either of them get hurt, this was absolutely not my idea, and they all came up with the stupidity on their own. What's next? What's next is we actually flip the card. Okay, 10 of spades. The mecha's original weapon system aren't up to the task of defeating the opponents it's now facing. So we know that it's not collapsing yet. But we're going to tick down by 1. How do you give the mecha a bit of extra firepower? Okay. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. So we're doing that basic thing where we've got a external weapon. Nothing that can be too easily gotten into. Technically, we can get at these batteries, and we can overclock them. But I feel like one of the best things we can do is change out that heat sink a little bit. I mean, I don't want it overheating per se, but if we could grab them a second weapon, strap that to their back, and then give them a way to disable the heatsink. Well, now we've gone from having a primary gun to a primary bomb, don't we? It's not the cheapest option, but it's also the option that no one is going to be able to. No one's going to have to ask the military to support. So, yeah, basically the long and short of it is we set up that gun so that after it's got a couple of batteries worth of use, we go ahead and turn that thing into a ticking time bomb and throw it directly in the middle of the enemy. I mean, God knows that it's going to work at least once. I just hope that it's not going to be something that everyone starts thinking it's a good idea. Card 3. 8 of Hearts. There we go. The pilot insists that there's something wrong with their machine, but you can't seem to find the problem. If the tower stands, describe your frustration in chasing gremlins. If it falls, turns out your pilot was right. Small comfort now that they're dead. So Zoe is driving the kids on my team around the bend, complaining every chance she has that something is wrong. She doesn't have any idea where it's wrong or what the it is, but she just feels like something is going south on the machine. And they've checked the wires, they've replaced as much as we safely can without it being a new mech. And she still assumes that there's something wrong. Well, if there is something wrong, I have to say it's probably situated straight between the chair and the controller of the mech. Which maybe we should do another look through the cockpit just to make sure there isn't anything that's whirring or buzzing, just in case. Three of clubs. That's the mecha again. What ritual do you always perform as part of doing maintenance on the mecha? Why? So I don't know what the kids on my team do. Maybe they've got their own thing. But once as soon as whatever problems rise up to the top, so I have to work on things directly. Well, I gave up drinking. I never did start smoking. But it always feels like you ought to do something a little bit stupid and crazy. Well, the one thing that I do, and one of these days she's gonna figure it out, but after I know that the mech seems to be all in one piece again, I gotta say I stick gum under the seat. I don't have any idea if it's some old thing from school days where they did that underneath the desks, or if it's just something I'm gonna keep doing until she notices. But yeah, another maintenance check, and that's another piece of gum under her seat. I know it's childish, but I think it's funny. See how long it takes before she actually notices. And the final part of this particular mission, Seven of Spades. So currently, we're still safe. So yeah, the beast leaves the repair bay. The beast goes out a couple of miles. The beast comes back, blown all to kingdom come. And we have to be there and ready for it. I have the kids go ahead and try and split shifts. Make sure that two of them are always asleep. So that there's going to be someone who's rested. I try to let them do whatever they can do by themselves, but well, just because I call it a beast doesn't change the fact that it's my beast, my responsibility. But that's why God made caffeine, right? And let's see. 50 years, you figure there's 24 hours in a day, so I've already slept through a third of my life, so I should have caught up by now. As long as the beast can go back out the door, that means everything's fine. I hope. Okay, go ahead and discard this here stack. Come on. Can we discard a little neater, please? Thank you. God. Nope. Okay, we'll go ahead and put those over here. And what's happening with this group? How many we doing at once? 2. Okay, that was too soon. 6 of spades. The specialized squad of enemy mecha goes up against yours. Pull from the tower. What weapon, quirk, or tactic makes them more dangerous than usual, and how have you tried to prepare your machine for them? So the plus side of a single purpose mech like ours, a mass produced one, is that you've got the pieces that you can pull off and replace. And that makes them quick to go out into the field and quick to get back into the field. The downside of it, although I've figured out a way to make having that separate gun a plus side, you still have the problem that it has its own power system separate from the mechs. So what they've started doing is modular weapons that can be shunted on and off in a flash, but still port straight into the mech's internal power system. Which means, on the one hand, that the mech is going to be able to fire as long as they can walk. But it also takes away our advantage of being able to get rid of a weapon if it's starting acting squirrely. Fortunately, since all we have are these mass-produced, there's not much we're going to be able to do to retrofit them like that. So that gives them just a little bit of an advantage in how long they can keep shooting. Maybe someone at the brass should think about something other than mass-produced stuff, but I guess the downside to that is that it's going to take too long for any new machines to come out down the pipeline, especially since the factories are already set up for these. Queen of Hearts. Oh, I don't like this story. Okay, we're still over 20, so I can't lose yet, but here's where things start getting bad. That is a 1. Okay, things do not get bad yet. Sure, there's nothing else I'm missing. Okay. The pilot launches on an unauthorized mission. What do you do as they head for the hangar door? Pull from the tower. Why are they doing this? Provided they come back alive, what are the consequences for them and for you? So as far as I knew, Zoe was having a peaceful night to herself, and then all of a sudden she shows up raising hell, trying to get the kids to get the beast up and running. Needless to say, I got called in. Don't mind that part of it. It's not like you can sleep well these days anyway. But she was convinced that there was going to be a strike on a mining town. She says that she put it together from some intel that she had managed to get listening into radio chatter based on the time. It could have been a dream that she just felt was too impressive. Since it's just her and it's just me, I'll take responsibility for it. There's not much that they can do in these situations. They're not going to lose a pilot or a grumpy old man who's managed to keep the pilot alive for a while here. And who knows, maybe it'll turn out she was right all along, and she'll be the first strike in a daring rescue mission that isn't quite as daring as it had to be because she was there and prepared. So, I guess I'll just go sit by the computer and see what the beast tells me as it goes along. Cards. Okay. So yeah, we are a few pulls away from potentially dangerous situations. Let's see what this next batch has for us. 3. What's that start us with? 4 of spades. That is the enemy again. 4. Well, that goes great with the previous one. Enemy infantry ambush the mecha at point-blank range. You're forced to, well, hose parts of the mecha's limbs down. How did the Crunchies manage to damage something you've never expected you'd have to repair battle damage on? I am going to have to requisition several cases of beer for the kids. So yeah, Zoe was right. She did put together 2 and 2 and got the right number. But lucky for her and for the town she was protecting, they didn't send armored, no mechs, no tanks, not even jet support. They just sent people in combat armor, a lot of people in combat armor. And when all of a sudden the beast comes walking up, well, they decided that they were going to go straight for her. And goddamn if my idea about using the gun as a bomb didn't work out absolutely flawlessly. Although, again, that idea was meant for metal, not people. And some of the shit that they had to pull out of the bits and pieces. You know, the plus side of modular is you get in and out of the field. Downside of modular is there's cracks. There's cracks everywhere. And you have no idea what's going to get into those cracks. So yeah. Most of the kids have never seen direct combat, man to man. They've only ever seen armor to armor. And few of them lost a lot more than their lunch when they found out what exactly we were having to do. So yeah. I don't know how I'm going to make sure that Zoe doesn't get into the fray anytime too soon. Maybe after she gets her laurels and pins, she won't need to. But yeah, I've got kids who want a week-long bender, and hell, I gave up drinking, but yeah, there's always a few exceptions, right? Queen of Clubs. The Eggheads have designed a prototypical mecha update and have assigned it to your machine, which of course means it's untested in an actual combat scenario. Pull from the tower. Okay, 11. What sort of function does it serve, and what challenges does it cause for you and your team? These logs are supposed to be private. Me and my big mouth, because my ears to God, my lips to God's ears. That's the saying. And apparently he thought something was a fantastic idea. At least they didn't go straight to weaponry. At least they had something a little more reasonable in mind. And they figured that since Zoe had managed to luck out and figure out what was going on the comms channel, that her mech was up for a new communications array. Now, you'd think that they'd get the communications array from the same people who built the mechs. Oh no. They went to a specialist. And a specialist who isn't from the same business is like a cat and a couch. Sure, it's still going to be usable, but it's not going to work pretty afterwards. So yeah, we had to shunt over a lot of the actuators for the arms. We kept it on her offhand, at least, so she won't have to get used to a different set of movements on her gun. I hope that she figures out what to use them for, because if we had to beat up the beast that badly and there was no reason for it, well, I'd say there's going to be hell to pay, but it's not like I've got anyone that I can turn to, so I guess if it doesn't work out for her, then I'm going to be even more whiny and bitchy in these logs. More enemy. The enemy tries a new weapon that fries your mecha's electrical systems, possibly trying to kill the pilot and take the mecha intact. Okay, pull from the tower. Ooh. That's a lot. I suppose that works well. Con relay is gone. We've been able to put back all the arm actuators. So that's the good news. Bad news is we had to replace a pretty good amount of that entire side of the mech. So the beast is going to smell like an electrical fire no matter what we do. I hate to tell Zoe, just go ahead and assume the best. But I guess that's better than being stuck in a paralyzed mech, waiting for someone to take a knife to your throat. Also, she found the gum. I'm glad that she was able to find humor in her bad situation when she was hiding under the chair to counter ambush. So maybe that's why I've been doing it all this time, just in case something like this happens. Okay. I don't like this number. This number is getting really low. Ooh. Okay. Bonus round. I mean, not that I necessarily doing too much with the chapters, but anyway. 9 of diamonds. We haven't had a diamond yet. Maybe we can put it back? Nope, diamonds. Okay. 8, 9. 9 of diamonds. Your commander lets you know that you're going to get promoted and transferred out of your support role to either design mecha or teach new mechanics. But you don't trust that your mecha can stay intact without you. So yeah. Remember when I said that they weren't going to let a cranky old mechanic have to worry about getting shit canned under the circumstances? decided to test that out. I mean, I guess at one time, actually designing these things would have been wonderful. And again, I swear, God, listening to my logs, making all these decisions on my behalf, I say, well, we want to go ahead and find a more modular way of doing these things. I say, hey, we should go ahead and see how we can get some new mechs coming down the pipe as quickly as possible. Pretty sure Command thought that I was going to have a slightly more beneficial reaction than punching him. Now, number one, I have never thrown a punch before. So I'm a mechanic, not a fighter, so it's never been necessary. So I really did way more hurt to myself than was even imaginable by the counterattack. Let me tell you, I am going to have some goddamn bruises for a while. And I'm probably not going to ever see anything but the inside of Repair Bay until I see the inside of my coffin. But I can't just make Zoe deal with the beast and another chief mechanic. Besides, the beer I bought for the kids was shit. So it's not like any of them enjoyed it enough. So I've still got to make it to them. Okay, so maybe specifically looking for beer bottles that came in skull-shaped wasn't my kindest idea. Queen of Spades. Oh god, this is the enemy again, isn't it? The enemy launches a surprise, full-on assault of your base, and you are forced to launch in the mecha yourself lest it be destroyed in its birth. Okay, yeah, we've heard the jokes. Those who can pilot, those who can't fix. Well, I thought I knew what I was doing. I've been through The Sims. I've been through the books. Apparently, I need time to practice with this goddamn beast. Side note, I have figured out why Zoe was convinced that the thing was falling apart 2 months back. That weird high-pitched buzzing. Still don't know what it was. Anyway, so the base got assaulted. I was the closest to the cockpit, so I took it and started running. God damned if I didn't make it 2 steps outside of the base before it tripped on a cord and went crashing down. At least I had the sense to put on the safety harness in my panic. Fortunately, that meant that it looked like it was already shot to shit. So nobody actually tried to shoot it further. The nicknames have already come through. The jokes about, hey boss, how's it tripping? Yeah. I guess it's going to be a couple of weeks before they rebuild the base, so I guess I'm going to have to do some practice in. Well, I suppose I can get myself one of those big builder mechs signed out to me and get back into practice, and also make sure that my new repair bay gets built to my exact specifications. Two goddamn steps. Nine of clubs. Okay, this is the mech. After what just happened, this isn't going to be good, is it? That cut it really close. The mecha's operating system requires constant adjustments to adapt to new environments, modifications, and wear and tear. What glitch in the system can you not seem to get rid of? The finger just twitches. It's not like folding, it's just twitching. I have no other way to describe it. And it's constant. It's not a problem for Zoe yet, but it's burning through gears like nobody's business. And it just keeps happening. And the best part is, It doesn't have anything to do with anything physical. It's in the software. What part of the software? I don't know. I have stared at everything having to do with the manipulation and there's nothing to explain it. And it shouldn't be possible for some other set of coding to be affecting a finger. But it's like the software has become convinced that the finger is a heat dissipator and needs to go whirr like a fan. Again, it's the offhand, so he doesn't notice. But oh God, we're noticing. We've had that hand off. We've tried replacing it, and still twitch, 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 twitch. Which I suppose is appropriate. That's what it's doing to my eye. So I guess now I need to go through all the code that handles heat dissipation. Do you think there's more or less code for heat dissipation? Give you a hint. It's more. So much more. I'm not sure I've been able to show the dice proper. Oh well. Too late now. 9 of Hearts. One night when you can't sleep, you go to perform some routine maintenance and find the pilot sitting on the mecha's shoulder just as unable to sleep. What do the two of you talk about that you never mentioned during the light of day? Personal log. And I mean it this time. Better not have anyone hear this. Especially not you, God. You've already put me into enough trouble. So, yeah. Had a long chat with Zoe. She says she knows the beast is going to kill her. She knows I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. But ever since they paralyzed the beast, it's felt like there's a countdown. I think it was the kind of conversation where I was supposed to talk her out of it, let her know that everything was going to be okay. But I don't think that's actually what she wanted to hear anyway. So, yeah. Didn't lie to her and tell her that we were going to be able to figure everything out. There's still that buzzing in the cockpit, and just finally stopped replacing the gears in that one finger. She did appreciate when I said that we were keeping the whole thing together with chewing gum. I hadn't even thought about what I was saying when I started that sentence. Still, she wasn't sad that the beast was going to kill her. It was just something that she knew was going to happen. So she figured she suspended as much time with it as possible. Just so it knew who it was taking out. And damn if it doesn't make me feel guilty about sending her out in it. Not that I could get her a new machine and promise her better, but still, I guess it's good if you can look death in the face and recognize it. Try to get it, know it better. Prepare for it. I hope she's wrong. But we've been on this planet for 20 years now. I'd just been promoted when I first got my spot. And I can't even count how many pilots have already been through here. So yeah, the beast will eat her someday. I'll do my best to keep that day as far from now as possible. I admit to being more than a little scared about what's coming next. Heart 2 of Hearts. The pilot comes to you asking questions about how their mecha works, wanting to understand more about the machine that their life depends on. How are they as a student? How are you as a teacher? So we got back off leave yesterday. Glad she had some time away from it all to rest. Gave us a chance to go ahead and do a thorough check of every system we possibly could without having to worry about suddenly being tossed into the fray with one arm still completely unwrapped. Anyway, first thing she does is come up to me and starts asking questions about exactly how the beast works, exactly what program does what, and what gears fit in where. I didn't see any way to answer her questions without just putting her on the crew. And let me tell you, those kids have some problems with hero worship. They almost fell over themselves trying to yammer about anything that they thought might be helpful here, now, or whenever. I finally had to send all of them, but the one who wasn't yammering, out for a long lunch and made just the two of them go ahead and do a laundry list of physical checkups. So on the plus side, anything happens the next time she goes out, she hears any weird noises, I can say it was her fault this time. Okay, final card for this section. Jack of Spades. Your pilot has gained a rival among the enemy. What is their relationship with the pilot like? How do their fights force you to go above and beyond in maintaining and upgrading the mecha? How do you end up having a similar relationship with the enemy pilot chief mechanic? Keep this card and place it in front of you. Whenever you are prompted to pull from the tower, roll a d6. On a 1 or a 2, pull from the tower twice. When you draw the Jack of Diamonds while this card is face up in front of you, discard this card. Describe how your pilot and their squad mates overwhelm the rival and win a great victory. She's an idiot. There's no other way to describe it. How do you say, hey, there's this one mech who always seems to be trying to compete with me and see that as a good thing? Shoot the son of a bitch. But no, she thinks it's a compliment because it means that someone outside of our army thinks that she's doing a good job, which obviously I knew. I could have told you that, but she's starting to ask me to paint messages for this idiot. Not like anything blatant, but just like stripes. And she figures that if she sends a message, she can look for him to send a message, or God only knows. I'm glad she's not scared of the future. But this is war. Just shoot the son of a bitch. Anyway, now I have to look up some old Earth thing called semaphore. I have no idea if we even have any records of that shit. Or, well, we have to. She found them. Oh, God. I'm going to have to talk to my commander, aren't I? Okay. How many for our next batch? 6. Ace of Hearts. Okay, that's it. That is actually that 1 in a million. Well, 1 in 54, obviously. The tide begins to turn. The pilot wins a great victory, and the end of the war becomes a possibility. What was the breakthrough that they managed? Keep this card in front of you and place 10 tokens on it. Roll a d6, and if you roll a 6, then you remove a token. Oh, sake. I just want to rock. Okay, do I have enough? Having to deal myself a rock was very silly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not the right way to deal with it, but still funny. Okay, 3. 3 is not a 6. After all the tokens have been removed, final victory is within reach. Pull from the tower one last time. If the tower is still standing, the pilot lives, your mecha is still intact, and the war is over. As God is my witness, I will never speak ill of Zoe again. So she starts painting those damn semaphore messages. Whoever it is on the enemy side starts dropping messages as well. She convinced him to turn coat. I seriously don't believe it. So, yeah, he's currently serving as a double agent. He's getting us information which is leading us to their bases. Zoe may single-handedly have figured this whole war out. Okay. After every turn, what is a turn? So this is a mission. I'm going to assume that when they say turn cards over, that's what counts as a turn. So go ahead and roll that. That's a 6. So that's 1 removed. Okay. This is the Joker. It could be either way, so low is red, black is high. Final report. Chief Engineer Wyvern reporting. The following information pertains to mech designation 923 and its pilot. I forgot her last name. Zoe Reitzman. Zoe Reitzman was a skilled and extremely clever pilot. She was able to, in at least 2 situations, come up with plans and understand the enemy in ways that other members of the military did not and could not. She took chances, which saved lives, and she took chances, which gave us opportunities. Her mech carried her through over 200 incursions before its destruction in the field. There was hope after the battle that we would be able to recover either the pilot or the mech. But unfortunately, all we could manage was to utilize the cockpit as a coffin to bring what remained of her back to her family. On a personal note, I understand that I have made decisions in the past which have damaged my reputation in the upper ranks of the military. But based on how our push is still going forward successfully, I believe that supporting Zoe in all things was the right decision to make. I understand that a new mecha and a new pilot will be provided to me after the appropriate amount of time has been given to me for mourning. I am asking for those on my team who wish to be transferred without any issues, and those who wish to stay with me to be allowed to stay with me without any issues. I believe that there is nothing else of import to pass on. I have attached all data readings that we have on Zoe's machine, and I will return to duty in 2 weeks. To victory. Then file your personal log and the final report away. In your mind and in the world, leave them behind. Turn the hangar lights off as you go, leaving an earthing, empty berth or a battered but victorious machine in darkness. And with that, tonight's round of solo roleplay is done. As expected, slightly darker one than normal. Which is probably for the best. We can't always have the light. And until next time, remember to be one of the good ones, because there are way too many of the bad. I'll see you next Thursday.